Troy's got your back. Troy's dreaming big like LeBron. Mass backtesting like a daddy Mac. Dan's 30 years got our way. Trading life and markets every day. Option on leg up, you're traded home, where every move makes you feel less alone.
Dan, good morning.
Good morning, Matt. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Troy is in sunny California, and we decided to mix it up and do the sun intro because this is what it looks like in my front yard right now. I live in the Midwest. November 10th. It's not supposed to look like that. So we need a little.
Not fair.
It is not fair. It is not fair. Anybody in the chat? I know we have a couple Northerners. Let us know if you got hit. I don't even know what they're calling this, Dan. I would call it snowing too soon.
Yeah.
But I saw, anytime there's an extreme event now, it's like politics, weather, sports, entertainment. Like this is the first time. It's like there's a statistic. This is the first time this has happened. And so I read, I saw the headline, historic weather event. And so the fact that they said this is a historic event, I immediately tuned it out because let's go. It's just like everything else these days must be historic.
Yeah. Hey, Matt, do you ever remember I remember, living in Chicago, it's a fallacy that they have these seasons called spring and fall. So a lot of times spring we'd go right from winter, winter, and then like summer. And do you remember the groundhog? I used to love when the groundhog.
Punxsutawney Pete, is that his? Yes, the groundhog in February.
Going to be how long the winter was going to be. That was like the thing. But when you hear of November, early November snowing, that can't get the Indianapolis folk or Chicago all pumped up. That can't.
Supposedly O'Hare had like 2 inches of snow.
Oh, which is nothing for sure.
It's nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's lake effect. But I will say this. I should have screenshot this, but when you just go to weather.com and look at the main like still image, I go to weather.com, look at the main image. They have the radar. Here's the cities that they have highlighted with snow: Indianapolis, Chicago, Cleveland, Charleston, and Knoxville is on there. We don't have anybody from Knoxville here today, but it's on there, and there's like little snow flurries around.
And Knoxville, they'll close it up. I mean, Knoxville, if you even say the word snow, kids are getting
shut it down.
Yeah.
They will shut it down.
I'm surprised you mentioned you did not mention in there. Usually, when you talk Midwest and weather, Wisconsin's usually up there.
I know. Well, Marquette's on this. Marquette is on this as well.
Oh, it is. So, okay.
I mean, they are. They're saying they had Thundersnow in Chicago. Have you ever experienced Thundersnow, Dan?
That sounds like Mel Gibson type Thunderdome or
I know. It does.
Before.
Chat, has anybody actually lived through Thundersnow? Because I don't think I have. I mean,
never heard of that.
Let me see. I don't know if I can share this. I don't think it's probably too much live production editing to share this on the show, but apparently they had Thundersnow, Dan. So
I like the word.
It is a fun word. Is quite today.
Snow? Is that? I guess.
I think that's what it is.
Okay.
I think it's a violent event. Speaking of violent events, we'll get to this, but I don't know. I I think the Bears were killed over the weekend in a violent event, not the Chicago Bears, the stock market Bears. I just looked at the futures.
Yes.
And we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yes.
We do need to cover a couple bits of business. And I don't know if anybody on the chat wants to get their opinions ready, because we are going to discuss this idea that got very popular. Not the idea, the debate that got very popular.
Yeah.
On Twitter of a 50-year mortgage. Before we do that, though, we're going to do another bit of business. It's super practical. The Civil War minute. And
it's about time.
Here's the thing about history. You can learn things. This is maybe the most practical piece of knowledge we will ever do from the Civil War on the show. Friday, the Civil War minute from the show was this gentleman. This gentleman, Ambrose Burnside. And what does this have to do with anything? If you look at his face, you will see this man is where the word sideburns comes from. Sideburns. They come from Ambrose Burnside, a mostly unsuccessful, it must be said, Union general in the Civil War. He had one moment of gallantry at the Battle of Antietam. They named a bridge after him. I've been there. Burnside's Bridge. And then got a promotion probably above his station for the whole army. It didn't go great. He didn't stay in charge of that army. But what we did get, which still lives on today, a word used every day in the English language, sideburns. They come from this man.
So sideburns come from this guy.
Supposedly, this is supposedly where sideburns come from.
Wow.
This man. General, I think, I'm trying to remember my notes. Pretty sure he was a Hoosier. He was a Hoosier. He was an engineer. And we'll keep it under a minute. There's a couple more interesting things about him. But the main thing is he's where we get sideburns from.
I think that was well worth
you all have learned something today. This show is entertainment and educational about the Civil War. And with that being said, Dan, President Trump over the weekend, he did several things. I don't keep up with his tweets. I don't know if you do, Dan, but I think it's a full-time job.
I don't. He needs to take the weekend off occasionally.
He does not take any time off, supposedly.
No.
I think, people are, we haven't had a modern political figure quite like Trump. But I think that personality type has existed over the years.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think something that maybe unique about him is he does seem to be turned on at level 10 all the time and does not. I mean, there's stories from his advisors, like on planes, that if you fall asleep, like on Air Force One, he will laugh at you or like point it out at like 2 a.m. because he's still going. And I think the futures right now, Dan, are up 64 points.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that's probably due to some tweets over the weekend. But one of the things he tweeted about was that he wants a 50-year mortgage. So in the U.S., for our international friends, in the U.S., I think for many years, mortgages, and I'm not 100% on this, for many years when I was growing up, mortgages were 15-year or 30-year.
Right.
And I think 15-year came out first, and then they introduced the 30-year. And now nearly everybody just doesn't even look at a 15-year. They look at a 30-year. And there is houses are very expensive. Houses are very expensive. They have appreciated like most assets here in the U.S. A lot of assets have gone up in price, land, etc., but housing has appreciated and it's very expensive. If you are a first-time home buyer in the U.S., it is tough to get a home for. Dan, what's a low-end home where you are? Or like, I don't want to say low-end, like a starter home. Do you know how much a starter home is, ballpark?
Yeah, and again, Knoxville is one of those markets where you know, 8 years ago or 7 years ago, it was nothing. But now that everybody's moving towards southern states, it's not that far from Chicago prices, but I would say starter, you're talking easily in the twos. I mean, I would think.
Yes.
I would think that's about right. How about in Indiana?
I would say you can't find anything that's not in the twos.
Really?
Most of the homes are, if you're just looking at like a normal home in a neighborhood, you're probably in the $300,000 to $400,000 range for like a family sized home. A starter home a little bit cheaper, but according to Zillow, the average home in the U.S. is $360,000.
$360. Wow.
Yep. And the median sale price in August and September, the median sale price was $370, and the median list price was $411. Now, these are medians. Like there's a lot of noise in that. This is taking into account Staten Island, Compton, Miami, Buffalo, New York, all parts in between. But, if you look at, we like charts on this show. Everybody likes charts. Let's do this. Let's see if we can do this live. We'll try to get a chart on the show. Whoops. This is a sneak preview here. This is not what we meant to show. I'm going to see if I can add.
And what was his thinking, Matt? Like, did he give any thinking behind the 50-year, or
he did not? Well, yes. I mean, it's all based on this chart that I'm really struggling to show. I'm spoiling our back test for the day, by the way. This is why we try not to do things live. But let me see if I can successfully do this. So we want a screen. Nope. Okay, we're gonna. Here's the deal. I'll put this link in the show notes. You guys can look at it. The average home price in the U.S., Dan, has gone from 2002 in 2018 all the way up to almost 400K according to Zillow. So in 7 years, it's almost doubled.
Wow.
And that's a big jump.
It is.
So the 50-year mortgage is an attempt to kind of roll that back. It's an attempt to try to here's the thing. I say it's an attempt to roll that back. It's really not an attempt to roll back. It's an attempt to deal with this high price. And the way of dealing with the high price is this idea called leverage, which we know something about. With a 30-year mortgage. Right. If you take a 50-year mortgage, it's even more leverage. And the long and short of it is that people will have slightly smaller monthly payments, and banks and mortgage lenders would make a lot more money. So a 50-year mortgage, Dan, you could buy a house at 20 years old, work your entire working life, and not have it paid off when you're retired.
That's right. So this is a good way to pass the mortgage on to your grandkids.
That's right. To pass it on to your children's children.
Your children's children.
A legacy for your children's children.
That's right.
So, I have feelings about a 50-year mortgage. The chat has feelings too. I agree with this sentiment. Debt so high you can never get out. And this is the thing. Trump is a leverage guy. He's a real estate guy. He is not afraid. He does not listen, Dan. I don't know all your feelings on debt. I don't know all the chat's feelings on debt. I've never talked about all my feelings on debt, but I will say that Trump's feelings on debt are probably different than a lot of people. Yeah. And one could argue that those feelings are not totally divorced from the fact that SPX is almost at 7,000. That these things might have a little bit to do with each other. They might just have a little bit to do with each other. And his view on money and money printing and access to money. But I kind of feel this. What the chat is saying, debt so high you can never get out. 50 years is a long time.
It is. It'll definitely be a coffee table discussion for a while.
Yes.
50 years. You'll have to get the whole family involved in the 50-year mortgage discussion.
And yes, and something that Trump does like to do. He likes to. Have you noticed this? He likes to float ideas that are outside of the acceptable discussion.
Oh yeah.
He floats crazy ideas.
Yeah.
And listen, he's been elected twice. It kind of works. Yeah. And Louis Schiff is making the point. He's making the point. If you could have locked in a rate,
right.
in 2021, he would take a 50-year.
50.
And listen, this is the argument that I saw people making. Because if mortgage rates are low, it's essentially, is a 50-year mortgage essentially an option on inflation, Dan?
Yeah.
Somebody smarter than me posted that, and I was like, well, I still have a visceral physical reaction to that. I have the idea of a 50-year debt, even an asset-backed 50-year debt that's supposedly you're getting equity in every year. But if you could lock in a 2% interest rate, there are people who would definitely use that.
Yeah.
And then they would go do whatever with the money, including maybe trade options. And with that, let's check out a back test, everybody.
The McRib. Yes.
Let's check out the McRib.
So the banks would be the most excited ones about this mortgage, right?
I think they have to be.
Yeah.
I think the banks would be very excited about this mortgage.
Yes.
And I'm excited about this back test.
Yeah.
And so this back test happened. I think you and Troy did it on a day I was gone. I don't remember seeing it.
Okay.
Now, here's the thing. We've done a lot of shows. So maybe I did remember seeing it. The first thing I think we should do is talk about what this is.
Yeah.
This is a floating entry reverse iron butterfly.
Yeah.
I think that's what the rib is, Dan.
Yeah. Buying at the money call and put, and then selling some further out of the money options, as opposed to a reverse iron condor where you're buying the out of the money. Here you're just buying the at the monies. And so
yes.
it's just a little different feel.
This is Louis. This is the comment of the day. This is hilarious. Connecting our show for us, bringing this back test to the bank.
I like that.
Alone. This is an important reminder that Louis back tests are backwards looking, not forward looking, and they are a simulation. But
wouldn't it be cool if someday we could do that? Bring in a back test.
Oh my gosh.
Say, look at bank officer.
The bank officer pulls up the back test and starts talking about that.
He gives you $1 million.
Yeah, they give you $1 million. Your exit slippage is not appropriate, sir. I can only approve you for this amount rather than this amount. Here it is year to date. And what's interesting about this to me is that it's like fitted kind of a decent amount, but it's a explainable concept of what the fitting is. So it's not, there's no Mondays on here. Let's do this. Why are there no Mondays on here? Let's just do this because I know what the answer is. Typically Mondays are not great days because we've talked about this at length because of the VIX on Mondays, Dan, right? Like the VIX kind of does it on, you know what though? Look at this.
VIX generally goes up on Monday, at least the morning part.
Yeah. So this is running year to date on Mondays. Let's just, because I'm always trying to make more back tests, have more occurrences. Let's run this on Mondays since dailies and see how bad it is. This year, Mondays have been very, fine on a very small sample size, very, very infrequent, but fine. We're going to run it back on Mondays since the start of dailies and see how it's doing. But, and this is why, There's no Mondays. This is the only year it's done fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's not one that we're interested in. But it's got a floating entry. And that floating entry, there's two VIX things that aren't. Oh no, it does have an intraday move. So it's triggering the floating entry based on either the VIX moving intraday or the RSI changing intraday, which you do have. You do have sometimes where on a big move, the RSI will change intraday. You know, I'm always interested, Dan, can we do more with less? The first thing we should do is let's just see, how has this guy done recently? How about a last 90 days run? What do you think?
Yeah. Or just April. Well,
yeah. So it's done better than normal. Now, again, not a lot of occurrences, and it hasn't run this month, but it had a pretty good run in November. So if you can look at it, you can basically see, here's the downside to this back test. You can have a day like this, right? In September, where you paid $25 for this and you got to move. Like the old song, you got to move. We moved a point here. This back test lost almost all its money.
Well,
Not
that's
great.
the pain of buying an at the money straddle is what you're buying here versus the reverse iron condor out of the money. So this could be massive pain.
Massive pain. You're paying more for it. Yeah. But you can see too, there's a lot of times, I mean, it doesn't usually get 100% in the money like it did here or like it did here, but there's a lot of days when it moves just enough. It moves just enough. This one, you know, would you feel great with the risk reward on this setup? You're risking $37 to make 12, and you would think, is that a good risk reward? But you know what? You made almost 12.
Yeah.
So it's done pretty well. It's done pretty well year to date. It's done pretty well recently. Let's run it all the way back to dailies. This is going to take a little bit because it does have that floating entry, again, based on the intraday VIX move and getting the RSI in the range and a 40 to 70 range, Dan. We're not huge technical people, but when you hear a 40 to 70 range on the RSI, what comes to your mind?
Well, you're probably asking the wrong person. If you talk to me, if I ever used the RSI in trading, I haven't. I just, there's so many things out there. I'm not a big technical person, maybe look at little things.
Yes.
I really haven't looked at the RSI till I heard you. And
I know. Listen, this is all
people do. So I'm not saying, but I just don't know much. I haven't really.
Here's all I think of. I just think of as mostly calm waters.
Yeah.
40 to 70, down in April when we were down in the 4900s, the RSI was well below 40.
Yeah.
And there have been some times when it's been up above 70, especially in Trump's last term, I think.
Yeah.
And so I think of 40 to 70. 40 to 70 is not going to take away very many trades.
Yeah.
But it's going to take away ones where you actually are kind of in, as I remember you talking about, Dan, the weather check. Put your finger up in the air. Is the weather mostly normal? This is what I think of the 40 to 70 range as.
Yeah.
Mostly normal.
I mean,
mostly normal.
In a way here, this reminds me of a trade. I mean, that's why I think you have to have a lot of tweaks here, like VIX down and a lot of parameters when you put it on, because in a way it reminds me of when you think about, if I said to you, Matt, would you buy, NVIDIA's coming up, or NVIDIA's earnings, I think, are coming next week. Would you would you do this type of a trade where you're basically buying an at the money straddle before earnings?
Right.
And you'd say, no, because you need a huge move just to break even. And when you're doing a 0-day iron butterfly, you've got to tweak it a bit because it's dramatically against you. I mean, what I can't even guess what, because when you're selling in this strategy, you're buying the at the money straddle, which is going to be huge. And so your break evens, you need Evil Knievel to go hit the mountain. I mean,
You need, yeah,
just to break even, because your shorts aren't doing a whole lot.
you either need Evil Knievel to go all the way over the mountain or crash into the wall. Like it's got to do one or the other.
Yeah.
Right?
So for this to work with a long term,
Yes.
like 3 years, it's either got to lean long deltas.
Yes.
Or and have these VIX things on here, which is the power of backtesting, that you can tweak a strategy that is just loaded against you, right?
Yes.
Any huge negative theta trade like a reverse iron condor or a McRib here.
Yes.
But if you can tweak it to actually make money, that's phenomenal, because negative theta trades can be
tricky.
They can be challenging. I mean, I think this could be used as also hedging potential capability.
Yeah. Here's the thing I think of with this, Dan. The most popular trade still, I feel like, among retail traders who are taking options pretty seriously, at least in our circles, is 0 DTE short condors in SPX. Okay. And I look at a backtest like this and I think, man, it seems like that if you have a positive expectancy short iron condor, maybe adding a positive expectancy long iron condor or long iron butterfly to your quiver of arrows makes sense. Because now, and this is, I don't want to say this is a blanket statement, because people set up their trades a lot of different ways, especially with people that are putting on many tranches of condors a day and getting, planning on getting stopped out a lot. This isn't 100% guaranteed to offset that, of course, but it is, generally speaking, going to win. A long iron condor is generally going to win when a short iron condor loses on the same time frame. And so there are people who put on short iron condors without any regard for the RSI, VIX moves, etc. Just might be interesting to throw one of these into the old OO portfolio and see if this doesn't smooth out some of those bumps.
I agree. When you think about a 0-day iron condor, I get it. People will look at the volatility, but to me, it's, gamma trumps all, right?
Yes.
Your negative gamma, when it goes against you, it's just like, wow, do you believe what just happened?
Right.
And so I think if you play with it a little bit and say, okay, I want to expand my size in my 0-day iron condor, how can I do that? Well, maybe you throw some 0-day or throw a little bit of 1-day reverse iron condor or a reverse iron butterfly here. And the concept is basically saying a iron condor is negative gamma. So you get short deltas on the way up, long deltas on the way down, and very, very fast. And so if you have some long gamma, maybe a day or two out, you'd have to play with it.
Yes.
That can slow the train down. And I mean, ultimately, I think if you're going to hedge, if someone was going to do like a little bit of size with iron condors, I think, to me, yes, I think the McRib or reverse iron condor work well. But ultimately, it might be even another alternative would be, okay, you have 10 iron condors, 0-day.
Yes.
Maybe you buy one strangle 1 day out, right? Or 2 strangles. You don't want to smother the theta of the 0-day, but if you have a crazy day and we move 80 points, you want that long strangle, which could be 1 day out or 2 day out or whatever works, to pick it up where you don't get blasted, right?
Yeah.
And so I think there's plenty of possibilities there that for iron condor folk to hedge things.
Yes.
Because I think iron condors are still, for 0-day, a very good strategy. Yeah. But like anything else, it's the risk management has to be very tight.
Right.
You can't, that's why I think like Tammy and other, you have to be very disciplined, very structured, but it's a good strategy, right? Again, you're when you think about it, you're in an iron condor versus an iron butterfly. Iron condor, you're saying, hey, I want the probabilities.
Yes.
I'll take the bad risk reward because I'll manage it well. The iron butterfly is saying, hey, I'm getting better positive theta. I have a great risk reward, but you can't handle the room of an iron condor. So it's like, they're both good. It's just you have to manage them a little bit differently. Matt, what were you going to show here?
That's exactly. So this is in the reverse iron butterfly. It's what you're saying from the long perspective of you have these times where this trade doesn't have an exit, right? And so if you look at it, you can get pretty late in the day. It can be down a whole lot. And then like this day, you had a 50-point move in the last, 2 hours. We went from like 68.70 down to 68.20. So this trade, which was actually, I think, on one side of the trade, came back, went to the other side of the trade, and ended up, despite being kind of expensive. I mean, your max loser is $2,700. So this was kind of expensive. It ended up making money. You went from being up at 68.70 to finishing 50 points below. But to your point, the butterfly, this one's a ride or die. So you're on the horse and you're heading out of town. You may not know which town you're riding into, but you just need to get to a town. You don't want to get stuck in the desert on your horse.
That's right. Yeah. I think the psychologically, the McRib here is tougher than the reverse iron condor because the McRib, that negative theta train is leaving, right when you put that thing on. You're buying the at the money call and put stress level is kicking in. At least reverse iron condor, a little bit out of the money.
This is one for new traders that would actually be great to trade in a small size in something that didn't have assignment like XSP. It would be kind of a bear to automate, but you could, or kind of a bear to manually trade with all the conditions, but it would teach, hopefully it would help you build that iron stomach, Dan, because it can, I remember you and I were talking about straddles, cause this is a long straddle with some wings, and you're like, the nice thing about them is they don't usually go to zero, and they don't usually go to zero, but they can still get close. And what's crazy is you read through these test times, and there's that one that's really bad. I mean, this one you wouldn't feel great about, but there's so many times when this thing finishes and it's like not a full loser or a full winner, but you're making some money. And I think that's why it's an interesting thing. So I thought this would be a good one for us, just a pretty simple, straightforward one. Not one that's traditionally done well on Mondays. Has this year, which kind of gives maybe a little more credence to, in the age of Trump, these tweets, they can do whatever, but maybe a good one to start the week off. So yeah,
there's a use for that. And if you think, I'm thinking like this week in particular, okay, VIX looks like we could be, by the end of the day today in the 17s.
Yeah.
So VIX is down quite a bit. And, if would I rather enter this like Matt had an entry when the vol's low? Yeah. And what if you thought like NVIDIA's earnings are coming out next week? And so, this week, if VIX were to get to the 16s or the 15s or some level at that with some catalyst coming next week, I mean, that would be at least a scenario that makes sense for reverse iron condors or McRib. You have a serious catalyst. I don't know what other news is coming out next week.
Yeah, I haven't looked at this week either, but I think some of the news, maybe we should talk about this tomorrow. I'll do a little research on this. If the government unshuts down, we're supposed to have CPI and PPI this week. And they're
Wow.
supposed to be on Thursday and Friday, which is not normal.
Oh my goodness.
I don't
Wow.
think this is typically not, but who knows with this shutdown. So we might get some non-standard events here. I'll do some research on that and try to talk about
And
it
Matt,
for the show tomorrow.
what do they do with the backlog of all the news?
This is one of the things
all
I need
these
to research because I have the
data-
same question. Anybody in the
Do
chat?
they just nail you in one
I
day?
don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, anybody in the chat, if
Talk
you're
about a
working
big
for the Fed, if you work for these numbers, tell us
Yeah.
what happens. We don't know. I'll try to do some research and figure out because, yeah, we might get a whole flood of numbers. And that could be interesting if the vol is pricing in more data releases. So I do not know. We will look into that for a show later this week. So,
But I think that one last
Yeah.
point here, it just, when you look at the last 3-4 days in the ES futures or SPX, I mean, again, to me, the story is you're getting some
Yes.
big candles. You're getting some 100-point ranges here. So it's a different feel, right? And I think we'll continue to have some decent sized candles,
yeah.
over the next
Yeah.
week and a half. Maybe not 3 in a row
Right.
like we've had, but yeah, I think that's just, it is what it is. That's the environment we're in right now. And
Yeah.
so
Well,
anyways,
everybody stay safe, stay warm out there. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, the Western Hemisphere, like many of us are, throw an extra log on the fire, put a extra blanket around. It's supposed to be back up in the high 40s in the next day or two. So I saw salt trucks on the road, and I was like, guys, this is going to be gone in 2 hours. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? Only saw one person, only saw one accident, which got to have one when the snow comes. So, but stay warm, stay safe, everybody. We will see you tomorrow. Thanks, guys.